It's Tuesday, September 3rd. I'm Josie Duffy Rice.
And I'm Tre'vell Anderson, and this is What a Day, the show where we're wondering if Lara Trump's appointment to RNC co-chair was actually just a way to promote her singing career.
Yeah, she released a music video for her song Hero that honors firefighters. I'm not sure what genre of music this falls into. Is it like Americana? Like Americana? You get it?
No.
On today's show, Brazilians flocked to a new social media platform after X was banned from the country over the weekend. Plus, a far-right party won a regional election in Germany for the first time since Nazi rule.
But first, Israel spent the last few days engulfed in mass protests and paralyzed by a national strike after the bodies of 6 hostages were recovered from a tunnel in southern Gaza this weekend. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis flooded the streets both Sunday and Monday in the largest anti-government demonstrations since Hamas's attack on October 7th. And many hospitals, schools, and banks closed their doors Monday. The goal was to pressure Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu into securing a ceasefire with Hamas and the return of the roughly 100 hostages the government says are still being held in Gaza. Israel's military said the 6 hostages had been executed by Hamas in the days just before they were found, not far from where another hostage had been rescued alive earlier in the week. A spokesperson for Hamas claimed the hostages had been killed by the Israeli military, but provided no evidence to back that up. In a statement Monday, the group said more hostages would return, quote, inside coffins if Israel tries to free them by military force.
Among those recovered from the Gaza tunnels was Hersh Goldberg Poland. The 23-year-old American-Israeli was captured by Hamas at a music festival on October 7th and lost part of his arm during the attack. His parents spoke during last month's Democratic National Convention and have been outspoken advocates for a ceasefire in the war. During his funeral on Monday, Goldberg Poland's father, John Poland, said he hoped his son's death would help bring home the remaining hostages.
Hersh, we failed you. We all failed you. You would not have failed you. You would have pushed harder for justice. You would have worked to understand the other, to bridge differences. You would have challenged more people to challenge their own thinking. And what you would be pushing for now is to ensure that your death, the deaths of all the soldiers and so many innocent civilians, are not leshav, not in vain.
But the mounting outrage in Israel did not seem to move Netanyahu any closer to compromise. On Monday, during his first press conference since the news of the hostages broke, Netanyahu essentially refused to budge on his terms for a ceasefire deal.
What kind of a message does this send to Hamas? What kind of a message does this send? Murder hostages and you'll get concessions in return?
Netanyahu asked the families of the deceased hostages for forgiveness, but said their outrage should be directed toward Hamas. Netanyahu also refused to drop one of his newest and most contentious demands in the ongoing ceasefire negotiations, the continued occupation of a strip of land in Gaza along the Egyptian border known as the Philadelphia Corridor. He also vowed that Israel would, quote, exact a heavy price from Hamas for the deaths of the hostages.
But as Israel's war with Hamas nears its 11th month, the conditions in Gaza keep deteriorating. Gaza's health ministry says more than 40,000 Palestinians have been killed so far, and nearly all of the region's 2 million residents have been displaced multiple times because of Israel's ongoing bombardment. A campaign to vaccinate hundreds of thousands of children against polio kicked off Sunday in central Gaza as fears over the disease's spread mount. The international community is growing increasingly frustrated with Netanyahu's intransigence, too. The United Kingdom said Monday it would suspend some arms exports to Israel due to a, quote, clear risk that they might be used to commit or facilitate a serious violation of international humanitarian law. And when asked by reporters Monday if Netanyahu was doing enough to work towards a ceasefire, President Joe Biden was blunt in his assessment.
Mr. President, do you think it's time for Prime Minister Netanyahu to do more on this issue? Do you think he's doing enough?
No.
Biden also said the U.S. government is, quote, very close to presenting a final ceasefire deal to both sides. He and Vice President Kamala Harris met with their national security team Monday to talk about next steps. Multiple outlets reported that the U.S. could extend its, quote, take it or leave it deal as soon as this week. But it's not clear what would happen if the latest version of the deal falls apart, nor is it clear what effect the deaths of the hostages will have on the negotiations.
And while Israel's war in Gaza captured most of the headlines this weekend, Russia's war in Ukraine is also showing no signs of letting up after roughly 2.5 years of fighting.
Yeah, on Monday, children across Ukraine were scheduled to return to school after years of remote learning due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing war. But in Kyiv, some schools that were supposed to have in-person classes had to cancel last minute as a result of Russian missile and drone attacks that struck the Ukrainian capital early Monday. Ukrainian officials said that at least 3 people were injured and 2 school buildings were damaged during the attacks.
Also on Monday, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he does not think Ukraine's weeks-long offensive into Russia's Kursk region will succeed, and that Ukraine will be forced to negotiate an end to the war soon. Now, obviously, Putin has his own motives for saying that, but Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and other officials have admitted that their forces in Kursk have not accomplished their goal of drawing Russian troops away from Ukraine's eastern front lines. To better understand what's happening in Ukraine and the war against Russia, I spoke with Kateryna Hodunova. She's a journalist at the Kyiv Independent, an English-language media outlet based in Ukraine. And she spoke with me late on Monday night from Kyiv and started by telling me about Russia's latest attacks on the city.
In Ukraine, it is the first day of school. And for instance, I woke up today around 5 a.m. in the morning. And a lot of kids, they started their preparation at around, for example, 6 or 7 a.m. to go to school. At 5 a.m., you're waking up because of loud explosions just not far away from your home. So, yeah, I am as an adult. It's not really simple for me to comprehend everything, but, for kids, it's more devastating and difficult to deal with, especially when it's your first day of school. I just couldn't imagine. But talking about recent damage of this attack, as far as I know, one of universities was destroyed in the Holosivsky district of Kyiv. It's not far away from the center, actually. And also a mosque. As far as I know, there are only 2 mosques in Kyiv, and one of them was destroyed. Damage was not really big, but still, I know that people who usually attend this mosque, they were praying outside this time.
I heard you say that it was the first day of school for Ukrainian children. Was school canceled entirely for the day?
No, I saw a lot of posts from my colleagues, friends, and I liked really one from my colleague from my previous job. His son, he is maybe 12 years old, and he woke up in the morning again after this attack, and he told his dad, we're going to school because we need to show Russians we are unstoppable, There is no way that I'm skipping school, my first day of school this year.
So we're now about a month into Ukraine's incursion into Russia's Kursk region. Can you tell us what is the latest on that front?
So the latest news are not pretty good, I would say, because maybe you've heard about the Ukraine 2024 Independence Forum in Kyiv that took place recently. And Alexander Syrsky, Ukraine's commander-in-chief, he also was speaking there remotely, obviously. And he said that also was kind of a surprise for a lot of journalists. He said that, one of the main targets, the goals of this surprise incursion to Kursk Oblast was to force Russia to redeploy its forces from the eastern part of the front line, from the Donetsk direction. And actually this plan failed. And Syrsky said it literally. So this war, is personal for me because, for example, my stepfather, he's serving actually in the Donetsk direction, not far away from the city of Pokrovsk. And the city of Pokrovsk has been the main target for Russia for like several months so far. And, you know, when I realized that Ukrainian army is in Russia's Kursk Oblast, like just one morning I woke up and I just heard the news. So it was difficult to comprehend for myself because, you know, why we are redeploying our forces to Russia's territory when we have so many troubles in Donetsk Oblast. And Syrskyi just confirmed my worst thoughts about it, that, okay, it was a plan, but it failed. And from my point of view, I'm not a military expert or I'm not a representative of Ukraine's military, but still, Russia has huge army. It's not a surprise, so it's not like an unknown fact or something. And the Donetsk direction was its main target for so much time. And obviously, they were trying to capture Pokrovsk and other settlements there. And they won't like redeploy their forces after advancing so far this summer. And actually, it seems to me that this surprise Kursk incursion, it has shifted things a bit. Like I see on the news that more and more Ukrainian allies, for example, in the United Kingdom, they are reconsidering their decision on allowing Ukraine to use long-range weapons. In this case, it's Storm Shadow missiles. So maybe Ukraine right now is like in more winning positions than it was before the Kursk incursion. But again, maybe politically we are, but not on the battlefield.
So Putin says that he thinks Ukraine has to come to the negotiating table soon. It's not the first time he said that. What do you think when you hear that? And do you think that's something that President Zelensky is considering?
You know, it's kind of tricky question because it seems to me that at this point of war, maybe negotiations actually could be considered from one side or another. I do not really feel like everything that Putin says is trustworthy, obviously, because, for example, some days ago, he said like negotiations with Ukraine are not considered anymore. And today, as far as I remember, he said something absolutely opposite. So, yeah, I won't like listen to him, especially on the topic of negotiations. But at some point, maybe, and Ukraine and Russia, they will negotiate. But of course, for Ukraine, there must be like some terms to be fulfilled. First of all, Ukraine's government want to get back the territories, at least like in Donetsk Oblast and Luhansk Oblast, Kherson, Zaporizhia, occupied Crimea. And I think it's quite fair. But I am definitely not sure that Russia will accept these terms. So I don't really feel there is a place for negotiations right there, especially listening to Zelensky and his team and his demands from Russia. And maybe it seems to me that it will be a great like a defeat for Ukraine and Zelensky team, that if they accept to go for negotiations with Russia without getting the territories back.
How do you think Ukrainian leaders and the Ukrainian public more broadly thinking about what a victory for Donald Trump would mean in this U.S. election? Is that something that is a major topic of conversation or that people seem to be thinking a lot about? You know, how are you thinking about it? How is the government thinking about it?
Recently, when my colleagues tried to approach someone from Ukraine's government and ask a question about Trump's potential win, there were like answers. We will work with any American government that we will face, like, you know, so it doesn't matter, is it Democrats or Republicans? Of course, they won't say something that would terrify Ukrainian society. I feel like a lot of people are worrying in Ukraine about Trump winning elections, and most Ukrainians, they feel like at some point, maybe we just feel that it doesn't matter. Like we have some other alliances in Europe. And when, for example, the US aid was delayed, European partners of Ukraine, they actually helped a lot. And for example, Czech Republic launched this gathering of shells, artillery shells for Ukraine. It was a pretty good move. On the other hand, we feel like without US aid, it will be quite challenging for Ukraine and European partners to get through this war. Because one of the main donors, I would say, it's obviously the US. Maybe in inner circles, it's the main topic of the conversation. But publicly, Ukrainian government doesn't show their worries about Trump. Like, we have to work with who will win, and that's it.
That was my conversation with Kateryna Hodunova, a journalist at the Kyiv Independent. And that is the latest for now. We will get to some headlines in a moment. But if you like our show, make sure to subscribe and share with your friends.
Peanut butter and jelly, dinner and a movie, rock and roll. Some things are just better together. In fact, it'd be pretty cool if you could get your favorite streaming apps and internet together, right? Xfinity thinks so, and that's what Xfinity Stream Saver was designed to deliver. When you add Xfinity Stream Saver to your internet, you get Apple TV+, Netflix, and Peacock, all for just $15 a month. That's a whole lot of entertainment for your money, all on the network built for streaming. Switch today. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Price subject to change.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. I was just thinking, one summer, I tried to join the diving team.
Ooh!
I could not complete a single dive, so I didn't really get to compete. But I think it would be really lovely to go back and learn how to dive. Like, I think it's really cool to be able to jump off the side of the pool and not, like, kind of belly flop.
Yeah.
Right? But that got me thinking. Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity and willingness to learn new things. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back-to-school era can come at any age.
If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge.
Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. They might not be able to teach you how to dive, but they can help you with that part. Visit BetterHelp.com/WAD today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/WAD.
Now, two pigeons and Coach Prime bemoaning the fact you can stream DirecTV satellite-free.
Look at these humans watching pro football on DirecTV without a satellite dish.
I've been watching them watch football for so long, I feel like I could coach like you, Coach Prime.
Coaching ain't as easy as finding your games on DirecTV. How you gonna beat a corner blitz on 3rd and long?
I'd probably just fly over it.
Actually, that's pretty good.
Stream football without a satellite dish. Visit DirecTV.com.
Let's get to some headlines.
Headlines.
Vice President Harris and President Biden hosted a campaign event in Pennsylvania on Monday, marking their first joint campaign event since Harris became the Democratic nominee. The two appeared at Pittsburgh's Labor Day parade to emphasize their support for unions and workers' rights. The pair delivered remarks at the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Union Hall, where Biden spoke about how Harris will continue to carry out their administration's pro-union agenda as president. Take a listen.
Kamala believes as I do. The unions are the spine of this economy. She'll be a historic pro-union president. So, folks, we got one more job to do together. Let me ask you, are you ready to fight?
Harris also took shots at former President Donald Trump's anti-union policies.
Remember, as president, Donald Trump blocked overtime benefits for millions of workers. He opposed efforts to raise the minimum wage. As the president said, he appointed union busters to the National Labor Relations Board.
Monday's stop in Pittsburgh is part of the Harris campaign's tour of battleground states leading up to the election. Harris also stopped in Detroit earlier in the day with her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, to meet with local union leaders.
Brazil's Supreme Court doubled down on its decision to ban X, formerly known as Twitter, on Monday after the country blocked the social media platform over the weekend. Justice Alexandre de Moraes ruled earlier this year that access to the platform must be suspended if X owner Elon Musk does not comply with Brazil's laws that ban the spread of misinformation and hate speech. He gave Musk until Thursday to block X users who violate the law and name a legal representative for the company in Brazil. But Musk refused in the name of free speech. Moraes ordered the temporary suspension of X on Friday as a result, and Brazil officially blocked the site on Saturday. Millions of Brazilian X users said goodbye to their followers in the hours leading up to the shutdown. And the rest of the Supreme Court justices voted to uphold Moraes' decision on Monday, saying that they would not lift the ban until Musk complies with the order and pays an outstanding fine of over $3 million. In the meantime, many Brazilians have found a new home on Blue Sky, X's rival platform, which reported more than 500,000 new Brazilian users over the weekend.
Germany's far-right Alternative for Germany Party, or AfD, is celebrating a landslide state parliamentary victory in the eastern part of the country. It's the first time a far-right party has won a state parliament election in Germany since the Nazis, and they won with almost a third of the vote. The AfD is explicitly nationalist. They blame immigrants for the country's problems, and they've seen an increase in support over the last 6 years, partly as a response to increased migration under former Chancellor Angela Merkel. Though the AfD is under domestic surveillance for being a potential threat to Germany's constitution, German voters are increasingly sympathetic to them as they look for somewhere to cast blame for their struggling economy. However, other parties are refusing to work with the AfD, making their chances of forming a coalition government or wielding any real power slim.
And for those of you who have been devastated by our lack of Olympic coverage lately, we are back for the Paralympics, where Italian runner Valentina Petrillo became the first openly transgender woman to ever run in the Games. Petrillo ran a personal best 57.58 seconds in the 400-meter semifinal on Monday, but did not qualify for the final. She will take to the track again on Friday for the 200-meter. Prior to the race, J.K. Rowling, who is apparently really into parasports all of a sudden, I wonder why, labeled Petrillo a, quote, cheat. After the race, Petrillo spoke in Italian about the discrimination trans people face, saying, quote, "It is not right that we suffer discrimination and prejudice simply because we exist," and adding, quote, "The problem is an information problem, so we must talk about these things. We must not be afraid." I really hate that J.K. Rowling always pops up onto this show when she's being a TERF, Josie.
Why is she always talking? Just stop talking.
Just stop talking.
Not because you're a woman, okay? Just because you're so dumb and annoying and such a trash person. And those are the headlines. One more thing before we go. What was the badge created to protect, and who does it really serve? This is the question that Empire City, the untold origin story of the NYPD, seeks to answer. From Wondery, Crooked Media, and Push Black, Empire City is an 8-part limited series that examines the history of policing in the U.S. through the origin story of the largest police force in the world, the NYPD. It's a captivating and immersive window into New York City's past, and a must-listen primer for our understanding today's debates around policing and public safety and where we go from here. The trailer is out now, so follow Empire City wherever you get your podcasts and listen everywhere on September 9th. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts to listen ad-free. That is all for today. If you like the show, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, cheer for the Paralympians, and tell your friends to listen.
And if you are into reading and not just Blue Sky posts in Portuguese like me, What A Day is also a nightly newsletter. Check it out and subscribe at crooked.com/subscribe. I'm Tre'vell Anderson.
I'm Josie Duffy Rice.
And we will never stop calling it Twitter. Listen, his mama call him Twitter, so I'ma call him Twitter.
I will call it Twitter till the day I die.
I mean, you can type twitter.com into the little browser and it still go over there.
It comes right up. What A Day is a production of Crooked Media. It's recorded and mixed by Bill Lance. Our associate producer is Raven Yamamoto. Our producer is Michelle Eloy. We had production help today from Ethan Oberman, Greg Walters, and Julia Clare. Our showrunner is Erica Morrison, and our executive producer is Adrian Hill. Our theme music is by Colin Gilliard and Kashaka.
Peanut butter and jelly, dinner and movie, rock and roll. Some things are just better together. In fact, it'd be pretty cool if you could get your favorite streaming apps and internet together, right? Xfinity thinks so, and that's what Xfinity Stream Saver was designed to deliver. When you add Xfinity Stream Saver to your internet, you get Apple TV Plus, Netflix, and Peacock, all for just $15 a month. That's a whole lot of entertainment for your money, all on the network built for streaming. Switch today. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Price subject to change.
Now, 2 Pigeons and Coach Prime bemoaning the fact you can stream DirecTV satellite-free.
Look at these humans watching pro football on DirecTV without a satellite dish.
I've been watching them watch football for so long, I feel like I could coach like you, Coach Prime.
Coaching ain't as easy as finding your games on DirecTV. How you gonna beat a corner blitz on 3rd and long?
I'd probably just fly over it.
Actually, that's pretty good.
Stream football without a satellite dish. Visit DirecTV.com.